Generically, a good action plan needs to have several elements. And this applies whether or not you're a school district, a builder, a property owner, a healthcare facility, or whatever you might be. Any party that has a mold claim should have an action plan that identifies right up front who the vendors are going to be that they're going to use if they get a mold claim in the door. And they need to do a lot of legwork beforehand.
The way these problems really explode on management is often not because of the environmental problem, but because of the people skills problems that they have. A lot of this is as much people management as it is mold management.
What we recommend to all of our clients is that they respond to mold issues in a prompt, sympathetic fashion. And in fact, what we tell people is not only to respond promptly, but to also respond nicely.
If you look at the progression of events in these cases, you will see a few isolated complaints that then turn into more widespread complaints as management reacts with skepticism. Or if management says, well, it's only the extremely sensitive people who are complaining, well, then more people will start to be suspicious. And once the trust breaks down, everything falls apart. And the two sides begin hiring experts to prove their respective views on what the problem actually is. And the next thing you know, lawyers get involved and everybody spends a lot of money, sometimes needlessly.
What we've found in mold cases is that while the mold may be an issue, the outrage or the potential outrage which is generated with respect to the mold issue is always a factor. And what you want to do is prevent that outrage, because many of the largest cases that are in litigation today are not so much cases of mold, but cases of outrage surrounding the mold issue.
In terms of an action plan, there's a whole bunch of things that need to be in there. They need to have a protocol for what they're going to do when they see visible mold and whether they're going to test for it, when they are going to do tests, what types of testing are they going to do. What is your response going to be? What do you do when you don't see any mold, but you have a strong suspicion that there's mold growth somewhere? What type of tests are you going to do? That's got to be all components of your action plan.
One of the important things in our society is to deal with issues responsibly. And if you are a landlord and you have an uncontrolled moisture source and that creates a problem that results in health effects of somebody that's renting a supposedly safe place for you to live, not fixing a sink or not being proactive about investigating where water problems might be in a structure would definitely be a problem that would probably cost money. You know, it wouldn't just be a quality issue with the site, but would be something that would result in heavy costs.
There's an implied warranty of habitability in a residential lease, whereby a landlord has a legal obligation to provide clean and sanitary dwellings for a residential tenant. We still have a lot of contractors, landlords, and insurance adjusters out there saying, well, I just didn't know, and I wasn't aware of these scientific problems regarding the mold, and I'm not a scientist or a microbiologist. Well, in this day and age, in order to avoid a negligence claim, you need to stay reasonably abreast of the developments of the industry that you're involved with. And this means attending conferences and watching news programs and reading articles. And you'd have to have been under a rock for the last 10 years not to have heard about the mold contamination and water damage problems that are plaguing American homes and workplaces.
How much is it going to cost to fix this problem? And of course, that's a question that nobody knows the answer to. I've seen some studies in the United States saying that perhaps 1/3 of the buildings, houses, schools, and commercial buildings in this country have indoor air quality problems. So it's a huge problem which will cost a tremendous amount of money, but exactly how much it would be, I would have no idea.
You need to get help to identify who you want to use. Even with your good vendors that you identify beforehand, personnel come and go, personalities change, and the person that you identify 3 months prior may not be there when your mold claim comes in the door. People are very, very busy. The good vendors out there, they're going to be very busy. And you know what? If you have a microbial issue come in the door, you've got to respond within 24 to 48 hours. And if you can't get your vendor out there, time is not in your favor. So have a couple identified.
One of the common attempts we see in these cases to try to defend the cases is to blame the problem on the occupant. And what we will see are these amazing attempts to show that some minor, isolated little area of a water stain or some small water damage that the tenant may have caused is suddenly some significant indoor air quality problem. We've had cases where there are hundreds of square feet of visible mold growth that the defendant is undisputably responsible for. And the defense will hire an expert who will go and find one water stain somewhere and say that's the cause of the indoor air quality problem, not this 100 square feet of visible mold growth, and that 100 square feet isn't significant, and that somehow this one small water stain is.
If you're unsuccessful and a mold claim actually goes to litigation, you've failed. You are going to be faced with a lot of costs. Potentially, you're going to be put through, from an emotional and a financial standpoint, a great deal of discovery, depositions. The experts that you're going to engage are going to be costly, and in the end, no one wants to be in litigation. You're better off avoiding the mold claim at the beginning. You need to be really careful about who you engage as partners to help you investigate and abate a mold claim. Fact of the matter is, mold is relatively new, and how much mold abatement costs, people don't really have a good handle on that. And so there's a lot of opportunity to get taken. And my advice to you is to make sure that you partner with someone that you can trust, and if you don't know who that partner is, get some assistance. You want to know who's going to clean it up, who are the abatement companies, and there's a lot of work that you need to do from a legal standpoint beforehand to make sure that you've transferred any risk if your mold claim goes wrong. You want to make sure that your vendors are all under contract and that your contract has bells and whistles in it that will protect you if that mold claim goes the wrong direction, or if they miss something, or if the mold claim in the end is not successfully resolved. You want to ensure quality control. You want to be able to say that I responded to this mold claim quickly with a very qualified and competent individual, and that your claim handling was state of the art, that there's nothing that you can be criticized for. If you plan right now for the mold claim, before you have the claim in the door, it's going to pay rich dividends. And you know what? You may not be able to quantify those dividends, but let me tell you, the clients and the parties that we've worked with in developing cogent action plans that tell us about what we're going to do when we get a water claim in the door, who has reporting responsibility, what vendors are we going to hire, what's the chain of communication going to be, that addresses every conceivable issue that can arise during the course of a mold claim. Those are the companies that are saving an incredible amount of money. If you don't have those protocols in place, if you haven't planned before a mold claim has come in the door, what's going to happen when you get a mold claim? I'll tell you, you're going to be scrambling.
And people are running to lawyers to try to settle the score. And I mean, the lawyers are the people that are really making money off of this industry and the condition that it's in today.
If you look at the mold verdicts that have been handed down nationally, the common thread on the mold verdicts is not so much on the bodily injury aspect. It's really the claims handling. And most of the big verdicts, if not all, have emanated from the fact that it's been claims handling against an insurance company. Now, fast forward, insurance is not going to be in the mix in the future. So again, the common thread is handling the claim, the response. For right now, mold is something that we've got to be concerned about, because mold claims, they're still growing.